Hello and welcome to the iRacing Le Mans Series live on Apex Racing TV here from Spa for round 6 of the championship. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me this evening is Sam Kumo. And Sam, yeah, it is now the halfway point of the season. Fortunately, got many more of these to come. And we're at Spa, a classic circuit, possibly the second most illustrious endurance circuit in the world. And should be great fun this hour-long race.
Yeah, it should be great fun. This is, at least for me, it's one of the tracks that I think about when I think about like GTE racing and mixed classes, like all these team tops in the Europe series. I think always tend to run this circuit, so it is really made for this type of racing, and really looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen. We did have a massive number of signups for this race, so it's looking really promising.
Yes, absolutely. 3 splits, I think, today. About 42 drivers, I believe, in each one. And me and them are the LMP1s. Matt Farrow, by the way, leading the LMP1 Championship. Actually, he doesn't seem to be here today. Oh, no, so he is. Yeah, he just hasn't set a qualifying time yet. So he's the second highest I-rated driver in the field, and he's the top of the championship. So watch out for him. Peter Zuber is second place in that championship. Molnar Petter is in third. Marius Balakos is in fourth, and Ricardo Roscoe is in fifth in the HPDs, the second fastest class. Jeremiah Morton has got quite a lead now in that championship ahead of Jason Marichel. Carles Alvarez Benidi is in third place in the championship with Javier Schwartzman in fourth, and then it's Calvin Fraudont rounding out the top 5. And in the GTE class, Florian Dinard leads that championship again by only about 80 points, so quite a small margin to Hugo Prieto. Then it's Sasha Engelhardt, Claudia Klima, and Nicholas De Guhini rounding up the top 5. So that's a little bit of a rundown. The championship, of course, doesn't matter too much at this point. Like we said, we've got a few more rounds to go in this season. So plenty of opportunities for the drivers to recover. Quite late this time of day, Sam. It is just approaching 8 o'clock in the evening. From your experience in the maybe racing that you've done this week, is there do you notice the darkness near the end of the race?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't done racing this week yet. I plan to do some over the weekend, but I think this is just like late evening or early evening, really. So I'm not sure if it's gonna really affect the visibility, but you will certainly notice how the track starts to cool down towards the end of the race. So I think we will see some lap times dropping quite rapidly towards the late second half of the race.
Yes, it's starting off pretty cool as well. And yes, so certainly could be a factor in this race. Just getting a bit more grip near the end. We've got qualifying completed, and on pole position, Matt Farrow. He put it down right to the end. His first lap, I believe, was invalidated. It was. So he had a lot of pressure on that second lap, but he's managed to put it on pole position. 2 tenths clear of Marcus Hamilton on what is probably the second longest circuit we visit all season long. So very close there. Ricardo Schiavon is very close in third place. Richard Anu starts in fourth with Luke Bannister. Good qualifying for him. He's the 39th highest I-rated driver, and yet he's fifth place on the grid, only 1.1 seconds off the pace. So impressive there from Luke. Dylan Mann could see him back in sixth. In the LMP2s, Johan Hart is on pole position, of course, very accomplished driver in this car. Jeremiah Morton won out at Daytona, and he's been very strong in this series recently. He starts on the front row alongside him. Mike Owen and Tim Greven make up the second row, and there's Patrick Meyer and Alex Trainer on the third row. So nice, very competitive field in that LMP2s. And then it's not a bad field in the GTEs. Mitchell de Jong, of course, real life global rallycross driver. I believe championship winner as well. And of course, one of the most accomplished drivers on iRacing. He's on pole position by a couple of tenths. So Pash Gergis in second. Then it's Florian Dinard in third. And Yannick Lapchin starts in fourth place. Casper Henningsen and Victor De La Fuente rounds out the top 6. Also watch out for Hugo Prieto, second in the championship starting in 7th place. So incredibly high quality GTE field out there, Sam, which is a tad surprising to me. We got Spa 24 hours coming up in just a few days' time. In fact, tomorrow, I believe. And these top drivers are investing a bit of time in the GTEs instead.
I don't think it's any surprise because it's good practice just to get you up to speed and get some practice in the traffic and just refine your racecraft. So I'm not really surprised to see so many top tier GTE drivers here. Also, thanks to Anderson for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Much appreciated. As we head towards the starting grid, and the LMP1s will take us through the final chicane, and here we go. Not far on the pole, Marcus Hamilton alongside him. The usual pair.
The pace car is into the pits, and away goes Barrow. Going into La Source, and he's got a comfortable margin straight away. Really good start there for Marcus Hamilton. So those two supplying a lot of energy. That was almost an instant there for Skier Bond. Pretty late into La Source, but he gets through it cleanly. And so far, no changes in that class. Johan Haag still leading the way in the HPDs. He's managed to pull out a bit of a gap side by side between Owen and Grieven. Owen seemingly just pulling ahead in that one. And in the GTEs, Mitchell de Jong still leading the way as we've got a crash, maybe in Eau Rouge, but yeah, de Jong still leading the way. Gergis in second, Dinard in third. No changes in the top 8 drivers in that class.
Yeah, that was a big crash on the LMP1s around here, but it seemed like the track cleared up before LMP2s came through, so no major issue here. Aside from, of course, for the guy who was spinning. Oh, and that's getting really close for the LMP2s here.
Owen looked as though he was maybe going to get in a place on that opening lap, but he's lost out to, so he's lost out to Grieven, threatening to move a little bit further down as well. You got Dance there as well. But these guys just in a queue at the moment. A little bit of a turbulent effect with these HPDs. Not the easiest car to overtake in. But of course, it's so much fun around these sweepers in the middle sector here at Spa. And the first half lap is in the books. Pretty close between Mann and Vern currently. Mann getting a bit of a poor start, down 4 paces so far in the LMP1 field. But he's almost got right to the back of that class now. Not quite sure what's going on with him. Maybe just not using too much energy in these early stages. As well, I've got a bit of side-by-side. Pizza getting ahead of Dan Husen. Both of these guys up 2 places from their start because Bogdan has also had a bit of a poor start as well.
Yeah, I believe Dalaman might have been involved in the incident on the turn 1. Let's see, actually we did see him go off track, so let's just take a quick look what happened on the turn. Oh, that is I think I might see what's gonna go here. Side by side, just getting loose on there. And behind him, plenty of action. And that's a lap 1 slowdown, so it's really punishing.
Yeah, so that explains it. Thanks for that, Sam. Man did pretty well to keep it out of the barriers. So it could have been a very high speed crash, no doubt. Boy, the top 2 in that class pulling away. A bit nice battle between Trainer and Grieven currently. They're very close to one another, just going down the Camel Straight in the LMP2 field. That's the battle for 3rd position. And of course, Mike Owen as well, close behind. Trainer already 1.5 seconds behind Harth and Morton. Harth and Morton really are 2 of the best drivers in this car, and you can see a bit of a queue now forming up behind Alex Trainer, which he's not terribly used to, because he's a very accomplished driver in recent seasons in this car as well. You can see a lot of fast drivers queuing up behind him at the moment. Not more than a second set pace behind the next 6 drivers or so.
We also have a good battle here in the GTEs between Denard and Lapsen for the 3rd place. I believe that was just Denard who overtook Lapsen, and now they are switching position again. And that's okay. Bit of a jumping car in the background.
So yeah, pulling ahead was Dian. So yeah, just protecting that position, gaining it back. Close between Henningsen. As a, Henningsen versus De La Fuente. With Create and Lulham just behind. Good to see a little bit of a class divide out here. There seems to be a decent amount of each car. The Porsche representation, certainly it's the only car that you can hear out on the circuit, as Jonathan Dance, I believe from 5th place, has crashed out, and that's going to be quite a lot of repairs for him.
Yeah, that's most likely the race over for him. So they're coming through the last chicane, under braking. Does he just locks up the rears and off to the wall? So I don't think that's gonna be repaired for this race. That's way too much damage. Which, as we also see, one of the LMP ones in for the repairs, and that's Bogdan.
Yep, so Bogdan, he hadn't had a particularly strong start, and he is disconnected from the session as well. So disappointing about that one. Barrow with the first lap of the race that last time round, him and Hamilton so often evenly matched. Usually just Barrow who has a few seconds over his teammate by the end of the race, but no doubt Marcus Hamilton is a very quick driver. And will push his teammate to the absolute limit out here. Very close between Lapchin and Dinard again. And also Prieto versus De La Fuente, as Dinard is going to get ahead once again against Lapchin, but having to defend into almost every single one of these corners. The Ferrari looking very strong, perhaps down that Camel Straight. Good straight line speed we know the Ferrari has. But he can't make it stick. Some fantastic defense at the moment from Florian Dinard. Really wants to hang on to that 3rd place.
And also behind there, that's Hugo Prieto, granted down to 8th place. That's unusual. Usually we've seen him much higher up on the standings.
Yep,
looks like he does have had some issues. He's down 3 positions since start.
Yeah, maybe the BMW not quite as favourable around this place as it has been in previous. You can see a lot of Ferraris out here. And just that straight line speed, the BMW just hurting it a little bit. Certainly saw the BMW seemingly the best car in the world GT on Monday. That was around a very different circuit. That was around Brands Hatch. You can't really get more polar opposite circuits than this place in Brands Hatch. And but of course,
but
BAP really favours each track.
Also, I think De Jong and Jerris would disagree, considering we have BMW 1-2 right now.
Good points. I mean, to be fair, they could drive, you know, a tractor, and I'm pretty sure they'd be fighting for wins still. They're absolutely dominating at the moment, 4.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, consistently over 1.5 seconds faster than every other car. And you can see how evenly matched they are, just absolutely checking out of this one. Trying to break the draft though, they're not working together, seemingly, despite being teammates. Dion just mixing up his line a little bit down that straight. Once again, Lapchin's going to be pretty close, not close enough this time for a move. That's a fantastic shot though, down the Camel Straight with all the other cars. De La Fuente did get ahead of Henningsen in the end on that last lap, but you can see Henningsen staying within about 0.4 of a second, so I don't think this one's over by any means. That slipstream effect really strong around this Spa-Francorchamps. These guys are just absolutely locked in. They barely ever make mistakes. They can set almost all their laps within a couple of tenths of one another, and so any type of advantage, and they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, particularly with these GTE cars, you don't really suffer so much from following someone because the car is not as aero dependent, but you definitely get huge benefit from being able to follow someone in the draft. Whereas I think we've already seen how LMP2 field is starting to spread out, because it's known as one of those cars that is really struggling with the dirty air.
Paris still leading. Certainly domination in each of the classes really amongst the top 2 drivers, I'd say. And in two of the classes, it's teammates, Barrett and Hamilton. certainly at the top of this one. Schiavone is actually within 4 seconds, but he is losing close to a second per lap. It is just eking out, as now they are approaching the GTEs, and a chance maybe for Hamilton to get this move done. Can Farah get the move done into this one? Oh, and there is contact between the two of them, and the BMW goes skating off the circuit. And did that collect? Oh, sorry, no, they're still very close to one another. Apologies. But
it
yeah.
allowed Hamilton to get by.
Ah, right. And to slam on the brakes there was Farah, and we do have a change of position. And that is how difficult it can be. Just couldn't quite catch him into Blanchimont, and contact in the corner.
Yeah, that was unfortunate because the GTE driver really was completely involved in that battle that Hamilton and Farrow were having. So it's really difficult to make an overtake on that fast corner. I believe it might have been Loic Gilliardeo who have the unfortunate role of being involved in that. Let's see, is he still running? He is still running.
I think that was him though, yeah. Certainly was a BMW.
Looks like no major damage, so maybe he just got away lucky.
Of course, 20 years ago, I say 20 years ago, probably, yeah, about 15 years ago, for the 2006 changes, that would have been quite a big crash when they used to not have so much runoff there, but fortunately, not too bad anymore. Quite a lot of runoff around this Spa circuit.
Yeah, I think Loic is really glad about the tarmac runoff here at the Spa that we have.
So these guys queuing up even more. Yeah, Lapche and Denard is still going on a bit, but this is the battle that we want to watch, because Henningsen versus De La Fuente. De La Fuente is going to be close into this chicane. These two have already swapped positions in this race, and now the LMP1s are going to make some kind of effect as well. Super deep on the brakes, slams it through the middle of them, and that was a really good move there from Marcus Hamilton. Just about squeezing through there as well was Matt Barrett. And they've only got a few more GTEs to overtake now, but this first time round, really difficult for these guys to get past, and I would have thought this would be a decent circuit for the lapping, but you can see it's being very problematic despite this very wide tarmac.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that we have these fast corners that really only have one line through them. So even with high downforce, high grip cars like the LMP1s, it's going to be really difficult to make the passes on the GTEs. As we see there on the background, who is that? As Arnaud trying to find a way through, but just it's really difficult, especially considering the GTEs. They are all, of course, all fighting for positions, so they really don't want to lose any time and just or slow down.
Ooh.
Oh, Arnaud almost losing it on top of the curb.
Fortunately, it has a four-wheel drive, I imagine, at that point, with the front wheels getting some of that recovered energy, recovered electrical energy, lost from braking, of course. Yes, perhaps that just saved him in that situation. Just about gets past a couple more at Pouron and going into Lafania. Has to dart each way, but has now got through these cars, but has lost quite a bit of time there, has Arnie. It's now 7 seconds behind Skiavon ahead.
And right behind him, that's Molnar Peter, Luke Bannister and Dallin Mann coming through. They're really close to each other, but they are just stuck in the traffic, and I think Dallin Mann is desperately trying to find a way through here and possibly make a pass on Luke Bannister as well. Just go on board. This is where Farrow had the issue with the BMW. Looks like no issue for Bannister this time around. Oh, and Dallman almost running out of space there, and actually running a bit out of space. But he's able to keep close to Bannister.
Yeah, highly dependent on the GTEs knowing where he's going. Man, going to the outside of quite a few of these GTEs, does now go to the inside, and almost contact, does an almost accidental overtake there from Man. Fortunately, the the brakes in these LMP1s are some of the absolute best in the world. Probably only the Formula, this newest gen of Formula One cars have better brakes. They are really quite spectacular. Of course, these LMP1s did set the lap record. The Porsche 919 did set the lap record around here before it was beaten, I believe, by Hamilton last season.
Yeah, but wasn't it the modified Porsche?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
These cars can do 1 minute. In fact, they're actually doing 1 minute 54s. So they're actually more like probably about 10 seconds a lap slower than the Formula 1 cars.
But still, not slow by any means.
No. I mean, yeah, they're like certainly faster than previous generation of Formula 1 cars, I imagine. Still remember when Force India, of course, nearly won round it in 2009. But right now, it's looking like Mitchell de Jong's going to take his own class victory ahead of Pash Gergis, 7/10 of a second. But Gergis just keeping in touch. You don't want to get too shoved out, though, by these LMP1s. And you can see Gergis having to just skate off the circuit. Of course, could be a worry around this track, Sam, about the incidents. 17 incidents these drivers are limited to, and this is possibly the hardest track to keep those incidents down. Maybe Kota is an equal to it, but these two circuits are incredibly difficult.
Yeah, here you just tend to naturally collect some of the incident points, and especially in the multi-class racing, when you have those fast and slow classes coming through, you end up just having to make those avoiding moves and picking up the 1x's here and there. So I think for a 1 hour race with 17 incident limit, you kind of have to think about it and be a bit more careful. Just absolutely avoid any kind of 2x's or 4x's as you can.
Of course, some of these drivers are going to have to think about that for the Spa 24 hours. I believe a 300 incident limit, which isn't too bad, should be quite manageable. I think that's pretty much the same as basically like 20 per hour. Just trying to do the maths in my head now. I'm not quite sure how many it is per hour. 15 per hour, I think.
Yeah, that's about the same as these guys are having.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be too bad for them. This is the bats between, actually got side by side between Preta and De La Fuente just ahead. Preta's got ahead of De La Fuente, so it's a really good start for Victor. He has dropped back a couple of places, was ahead of Henningsen at the start, but now behind Preta as well. He's starting to maybe become a little bit more comfortable. These two are teammates, though, judging by their livery. Once again, I did say last week, you know, there's been international flags where countries have just accidentally created the same flag, but that's a pretty high detail and very good looking livery. I doubt it's any coincidence.
And they are also from the same, yeah, they're also from the same club, so maybe, I'm not sure the nationality. Are they Spanish drivers? Maybe someone in the chat could help us.
Either way, Prieto starting to pull out a little bit, half a second ahead. So he's now got Henningsen less than 2 seconds ahead. So that'll probably be Prieto's aim. I think Lapchin and Dinard are a little bit too far up the road. In fact, Lapchin on that last lap lost 7/10 of a second to Dinard and really seemingly struggling to keep up. Remember, Lapchin got past a couple of times momentarily, it must be added. Has been absolutely rapid down these back straights. But since those couple of overtaking opportunities, he's dropped back quite significantly. And yeah, it's now 3.5 seconds behind. Maybe just losing out due to the traffic. Or the LMP1's coming past him.
Yeah, most likely. I'm just looking at the top speeds and there's not really that much difference between Lapsin and Denard.
Top two in the LMP2 field seemingly separating a little bit. Johan Haar really showing his class out there. Number 7 driver. He's now 2.5 seconds ahead of Jeremiah Morton. Morton 2 seconds ahead of Tim Greven. He's having a nice battle with Alex Trainer. Remember, Trainer was struggling in the early stages, had quite a queue of cars behind him, but since then he's been able to pull away and is now trying to come back at the driver who overtook him Oh, sorry, no, yeah, the trainer started behind, but yeah, still trying to catch and pass Grieven. Maya is in 5th place with Owen pretty close in, so these 4 pretty close to one another. Still, Maya just losing that slipstream effect, as you can imagine, but as Sam was saying, not in that dirt yet of the car ahead.
Yeah, it looks like they are within that half a second, and they're having difficulties getting any closer than that. Now they're down to about 4 tenths, but soon as they get this twisty section, it just starts to open up and constantly. As Greven and Trainer really pushing hard and getting a little bit of 1 excess there, I believe.
Then a man is into the pits. So he'd recovered a few positions, had man. And we did see why he dropped down in the early stages, and it wasn't due to a crash, but maybe he's had a crash since.
Yeah, just it's saying that he crashed, but I think that's just a normal pit stop. Yeah, I don't really know why he would pit. That's 40 seconds. That's, I guess, okay.
Yeah, 9.8 at the pit stop. It's quite early. That's quite. That's not a whole lot of fuel, and this is a very high fuel consumption circuit. So I'll have to wait and see with Dylan Man.
As we're back to this LMP2 battle, Mike Owen just lost a little bit of time there, but Trainer and Mayer really going at it. Trainer ahead of them, and now also Owen was able to join in. So that's a 3-way battle for the 4th position of the class.
Yeah, that was Grieven to get away a little bit, and Grieven gets past into La Source as well, so that'll be good for him. And now they could get held up behind this Ferrari, could these HPDs, but 2 of them are going to get past. I don't think Owen is. He's just going to have to slots in behind. No, he is just going to get it done, in fact, so not really too much of an advantage there. And now is Owen going to get this run up Radion? No, managing to stay flat out there was Alex Trainer, got the gap just right going into Eau Rouge. And still, no change of position. That slipstream effect that time really didn't seem to cause too much change. Didn't close them up too much. And they're staying in 4th, 5th, and 6th in the same order. Denderlots only 2 seconds behind these guys, actually. And oh, they're just getting held up a little bit behind GT, close a little bit on that last lap, did Denderlots.
Yeah, so this is basically the main battle in the LMP2s right now. The leaders are kind of spread out. We got currently Hart with over 3-second lead. But I mean, you never know with this track and with this combination, so anything is possible. But let's take a quick look at the LMP1s as well. We have Hamilton still on the lead and is able to open up the gap slightly, but as I said, now Faro is using the energy and catching up, so that's the gap half, just as I was about to say, that it was quite large.
Although I imagine it's just doubled again, because it got held up through Blanchemont. So Hamilton, if he can, the longer he holds on to it, I think Farah's still probably the favourite for this race, just because of kind of recent history in these races. Usually it's Farah who wins out by kind of 6 to 10 seconds or so at the end of the race. So I think he's still the favourite here, but the longer that Hamilton holds on to the lead, certainly looks better for him. And again, a little bit unlucky at the moment is Farah with this traffic. Certainly staying in touch. Close between Trainer and Maya again. As
yeah, right behind him.
And yeah, very convenient of them to be in that part of the circuit. Now, is the GT going to play parts in this one? They're going to go 3 wide into Les Combes. And Maya is going to get that one done. Good move past Alex Trainer. And he's up into 4th place now. He's 3.5 seconds behind Grieven up the road. Just shows how much time that they've lost in the last couple of laps, considering that there are a pack of 4 just a couple of laps ago. But all of a sudden, Trainer seemingly dropping back now. Mike Owen staying super close through No Name Corner. And really no relief whatsoever for Trainer at this part of the race.
Yeah, it certainly looks like Trainer is struggling with the pace. I don't know if there is, maybe he has picked up some damage, or are his tires just overheated after pushing so hard, but it seems like Owen is really wanting to make the move as soon as possible, and I think right now he does have the pace to do it.
Maybe that GT just has kicking up a bit of smoke there. So it doesn't affect these guys too bad. Now Owen with a really nice run. These cars can easily stay flat out the Blanchimont, so the turbulent shouldn't affect him too much there, although he's not gaining. And
No.
maybe just running a slightly higher downforce setup. We have seen this in the past with Johan Hart, I remember at Silverstone, where he was stuck behind the driver. He was significantly faster than for about 40 minutes because he was running a bit more downforce and he couldn't keep up with him down the straights. And I wonder if that same thing is happening with Owen currently. Oh, crash! And that is, that's Maya, who just got past. And Maya has gone spinning round, contact with an LMP1, I believe, and that has undone some really good work there from Patrick Maya. Unfortunately, not too... Oh, well, you know what, I think he was crabbing down that next straight. We'll wait to see, but this is what happened.
No, that was contact with GDE.
Yes.
And as we go live, now Mike Owen has made a pass on... oh, never mind, it's in the progress of making pass on Alex Trainer, but Trainer is really fighting back. And now David Dennler is already in there.
No, he's just been watching this going on and licking his lips and rubbing his hands at the same time. Because this has really invited him to perhaps get a 4th place here. Once again wide for Trainer. But yeah, Owen gains 2 places then in about half a lap. Didn't look like he was going to make a move anytime soon, but he's got it done now, and now he's spun off into the wall. And, well, seemingly no one wants 4th place in the HPDs at the moment. And that is probably the end of his day. Significant damage on that HPD. And he's probably going to park it up right now.
So was he just pushing hard, or... Oh, I think he just clipped the inside curb and that just... Yeah, it looked like he just ended up in a slow spin, tried to correct it, but just... It snapped out underneath from him.
Well, after all of that, Alex Trainer's been overtaken twice recently, and well, he's still in 4th place. So we'll be very glad about that one, but certainly all the action happening in this battle. Dendelot has gone from 7th to 5th then in that lap, and Hodgenberg as well benefiting Natchen and Dance as well. Natchen now into the pits. Frederick Natchen, first driver out to the HBDs, and well, if he now wins the race with this strategy, well, you know, well done to him. But slightly odd decision, and Myers into the pits probably makes sense that after picking up a bit of damage earlier on in this lap.
Yeah, I think I saw him struggling during that lap. So maybe it makes sense just to take a pit stop. Maybe, hopefully there's some fast repairs. As in quick repairs that might actually help him with the pace or drivability, and then just survive through the remaining of the race. But yeah, Dendelt is really the big gainer here. He has been just being able to keep it clean, drive smart, and he's now up 5 positions since the start in the class. And looking at the pace of Alex Trainer, I think Trainer is definitely carrying some damage. He is down some top speed, and Dendelot is gaining on him.
Dendelot with 1,100 lower iRacing, 3,200, so certainly no slouch by any means. Highest I-rated driver is Mitchell de Jong with 9,501 as Dendelot is into the wall and now taken out as well. Another LMP1. That's the 39 car of Luke Bannister, who I said was doing so well with his relatively low I-rating. But he's out of the race now, and I just looked away whilst that happened. But all of a sudden I saw an HBD in the wall, and we've now lost 2 4th-place drivers and a 5th-place driver now.
Yeah, just as we were saying how well he was doing. Just get loose on the mid-corner, ends up in spin that is very difficult to recover from, and I think that's gonna be serious damage, yeah, and he is into the pits.
I mean, you're not one for making commentator curses, Sam. We usually leave that to Mr. Barbanera in the commentary box, but certainly filled your duty there.
Yeah, I think that's more because I don't do often the commentary, but yeah.
Yes, to be fair.
So it might be more because of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to be fair. I know. But yeah, so we had a fantastic four-way battle amongst those guys, and three of them had crashed out. And Alex Trainer, who had been incredibly negative about, I think, so far, saying, oh, he's slipping back and he's struggling. Well, who cares if you're not crashing, eh? And he's still in 4th place, and a relatively comfortable 4th place as well. So, we should probably draw our eyes away from this HPDs. Should we go back to the GTEs? Because still, we've got Mitchell de Jong leading there, pulling away from Pash Gergis now. Maybe the traffic just helping him a bit there. 3.5 seconds the gap between the top 2 in that class. Florian Dienard, a comfortable 3rd at the moment with Yannick Lapchin. That gap kind of just extending more and more. Casper Henningsen, though, is having a very good run now. 1.6 seconds behind Lapchin, lapping similar lap times, and looked like Lapchin was really going to be fighting with the drivers in the top 3 in the early stages, but it's just been slipping back a little bit. And like I said, yeah, Henningsen keeping him very honest. Prieto is a further 3 seconds back with De La Fuente. Those two still having a nice battle. Pretty much everyone else, though, kind of spreading out quite a bit. Also got Edgar versus Neidhart, but that's pretty much it. Guiardo and Chauvelin as well. They're having a decent battle, about 1 second between the pair of them, but the GT is just spreading out at this point in the race.
Yeah, also we did see Matt Farrow making a pit stop, so that is the first leading LMP1 that has done his pit stop so far. Bit early, but maybe he did have some damage that he just wanted to get fixed, or maybe try some different strategy there. I don't think this is as high fuel consumption as last week at Daytona, so it seems a little bit early, but we'll see.
Halfway through the race now, but you're absolutely right, yeah. Usually these cars go about 40 minutes, I think, or maybe even a little bit longer. They've been going very far in this so far this season. I remember a couple of seasons ago, they used to be able to go about 31 minutes around some circuits, around Le Mans, and they'd actually have to fuel save just to finish the race with 1 stop, but they've allowed a bit more fuel since then, has the league. Oh, sorry, not the league, but the series admins. So yeah, it's not quite as much of a stretch anymore. Neidhart still staying close. This is now the close battle because De La Fuente seems to have made a mistake against Prieto. Now 2nd between those guys, so this is pretty much as close as we've got in the entire field, but no doubt they'll close up later on when the pit stops take effect.
Yeah, currently the field is just spread up and also kind of mixing up between classes, so it kind of opens up and closes the gaps all the time, so we will see. The pit stop should be starting very soon for the LMP1s, and that usually provides plenty of action.
Yes. And it'll be interesting to see whether Farrett and Hamilton perhaps swap places during those pit stops. Of course, I will take this opportunity to thank everyone who's tuned in so far for this broadcast, whether you're watching live or perhaps on repeat. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, please leave a like for this video, and also if you enjoy this, of course, subscribe to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel as well, because we've got the World GT every Monday, which uses these GTE cars, and some fantastic guys, and that's some World Championship drivers in that, and it was extremely exciting. So I've got reverse grids and sprint races, absolutely great fun. Of course, we've got also you know, Mazdas and Kias and all sorts on Apex Racing TV YouTube channel, and also like our Facebook page as well. Got some terrific memes, I must say. Has been some high quality ones to say the least in the past few weeks, and also follow our Twitch channel as well. You can also watch all our broadcasts, or at least the majority of our broadcasts, on there as well.
And just a note, if you're wondering who's posting all the memes, that's Sam. He is doing all that stuff.
I mean, I'm currently in holiday for school, so it's very much what I spend my days doing. That's nice. So some very high quality jokes actually coming from all my efforts at least. .3 seconds between Dan Hoosen and Vern currently. Vern was a little bit slow actually on that last lap, so perhaps just spreading out a little bit. These two relatively evenly matched. Two lower iRating, just 41st and 35th in terms of iRating as Dan Hoosen goes wide, and well, that is going to close up these guys a little bit, and a cheap mistake there, and perhaps Vern is going to go round the outside. He pulls ahead, but he hasn't got the ideal line going into La Source. Dan Hoosen will try to keep it deep on the brakes into La Source. And now who can get past the HPD going into a Rouge? Well, both of them will, using a bit of energy. And Dan Hoosen is staying ahead on this lap 19.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of miscommunication there between Vera and the LMP2 driver. It seemed like the LMP2 wanted to just get out of the way, whereas Vera was kind of not expecting it and had to make a really fast avoiding action. And again, the LMP2 traffic there splitting these two guys up.
Yeah, Vern just cannot get the move done, and this is a very awkward place to get it done. Trying to go to the outside of that, certainly not going to work, and you can just see how you can so easily lose kind of a second or so to your rival due to no fault of your own at all. And you can also see Hugo Cozzi now relatively close behind. Farrow's closing in on these guys as well. Of course, Farrow has already made his pit stop, so isn't really in these guys' race. Skiavon into the pits. Having a good run in effectively third place once all the pit stops will be sorted out. And, well, he hasn't got too much pressure. He was relatively comfortable where he was.
Yeah, it was about, I think, around 7 seconds, so I don't think he's in any pressure to take unnecessary risk. Also, the cameras are so terrible we cannot see anything on the pit lane. So let's move on to... We had a request to show Wendell Parra. And here is the Brazilian driver driving the Ferrari GTE. Currently in kind of a land of his own right now. It's about 3.5 seconds gap to the front and almost 9 seconds to the back, so he is just putting in the laps, keeping it clean and waiting to buy his time, maybe to gain some position on the pit strategy. We'll see.
Yep, another Ferrari driver, of course. And yeah, so he must have been in that kind of quite large GTE pack we saw in the early stages, but it's certainly dissolved somewhat. But he's keeping De La Fuente honest, and he's also got Prieto and Henningsen as well. You know, he's only 7 seconds behind Henningsen, so he kind of just shows how competitive everyone is. But just struggling to really keep on tabs with those drivers at the moment. But of course, best of luck to him.
And also the pit stop phase seems to be going on right now in the LMP2s. We had Jeremiah Morton and Alex Raynor completing their pit stops. Not really racing on the pit lane because there's quite a bit of gap between these guys, but I think now for Raynor it will be important to really get a good few laps and maybe hopefully gain some positions. I don't actually remember where he was before the pit stops.
Yeah, I think he was a few seconds behind Tim Grieven. Grieven has an opportunity to jump Morton though, because Morton... Grieven's only 7 seconds off half, and trainer's only 5 seconds off Morton. So I reckon he's going to be pretty close as long as he can keep up these good lap times for Tim Grieven. Of course, not quite sure how much further he's got to go. He hasn't been having a slipstream for pretty much this entire stint. Arthur's into the pit, so you fully expect Grieven to come in now. Is he in? Yes, he is. So that was probably the best strategic call I've made ever. And he gets it stopped on the cones as well. So, yeah, Grieven versus Morton we've got to be watching out for. Of course, one of the pit stops that you don't lose too much time with this. You cut turn 1, which is quite favourable for these guys, but you do also trundle down at quite a low speed.
Yeah, it's also very difficult pit entry because it is so narrow and it's a little bit bumpy, so you can very easily lose the car there and get some unnecessary damage that will then cost you. Let's see, Grieven is coming out, and where is Morton? Morton is on the main straight, so this will be really close between these two.
Morton pulls ahead, but Grieven, like I said, can cut turn 1, and that is the difference between the two of them. Tim Grieven has got the jump on Jeremiah Morton. Looked as though Morton was pulling away in the early stages, but Grieven managed to gradually close that gap, and he's got it done during the pit stops. He had a 1.5 second shorter pit stop, and the gap is less than 1.5 seconds currently, so perhaps that's just the difference between the two of them. And now Jeremiah Morton, the leader of the LMP2 championship, is going to have to try his absolute best to try to reduce that gap.
Yeah, but Morton did have a small advantage there because he was able to get a much better run out of the turn 1, collecting more speed, but it just wasn't close enough. And do we have the pit stop starting in the LMP ones? We do. We are looking at Richard Arnau and also Marius Stanhausen coming to pits, sliding the backhand on the entry.
Arnau is still behind Skiavon, by the way. Those two will turn out to be 3rd and 4th later on, but still Skiavon staying ahead of Arnau there. They're relatively close, I believe. Yeah, about 6 seconds or so, so not too close, to be fair. And now Arnau is getting horrendous held up there, and here comes Hugo Cotti. This, in the long run, won't count for anything, but Hugo Cotti, who has an iRacing of 2,500, has an opportunity to overtake a 5,800 iRacing driver, which isn't an opportunity you always get in every race you do.
As our LMP1 leader is in the pits, and so is our GTE leader, Mitchell de Jong. So de Jong is here, and where is Hamilton? He is already on the pit lane and almost to his pit box. So now we have 2 leaders front to back, and also Jerry's from the 2nd place in the GTE making his pit stop.
Barrow's getting stuck behind Cotti and Arnau currently. So will that be the difference that Hamilton needs to get the move done in the pits? Brito's also in that then, from 5th position, I believe that was. Peter's into the pits. Surely Hamilton's a long way ahead of Farrow.
Yeah, he should be.
But Hamilton's made a pit stop now. And Farrow
yes.
has made a pit stop as well.
Yeah,
So
Cotti is the only
there...
one who didn't make a pit stop, and Cotti is now on the pit lane, so...
Well, how is Farrow... Oh, so Farrow had a long pit stop, sorry. I didn't know that. Did we know that?
He pitted early.
I hadn't recognised that, yeah.
Yeah, he pitted really early, if you remember.
I didn't realise that Farrow had a 20-second longer pit stop than everyone else. Maybe just fixing some repairs. So he's dropped down into 3rd place, the former race leader.
Yeah, but now Farrow is 3rd, so that is a good recovery there. It's about 9.5 seconds up to Xiavan, so 15 minutes, that's gonna be a tough, but we'll see. Let's see what's happening in the other classes with the pit stops now getting underway. Jeremiah Morton just overtook Tim Greven as Tim Greven is onto the grass on the last corner. Just take a quick look what happened there. So that's...
So Greven.
Yeah, Greven and Morton. Morton coming from behind, I think. Greven might be just over shooting his braking, and yes.
So
Blocks the rear
worked really
brakes
hard to close the gap and get the jump in the pit stops. And then he makes a mistake like that, and it very much undoes his work. Alex Trainer as well, only 1.6 seconds behind. And Tim Greven will be really frustrated with that one, I imagine, because, yeah, really good opportunity to beat the championship leader. But maybe that one has just gone away from his there. I thought I heard some tyre squealing in Lacoum, but seemingly no spins for anyone. Richard Arnoux is into the pits again. And this time it's for a while.
Yeah,
and
that
that's
does look
not
like
the
terminal
shape
damage.
it was previously. So he was 4th place in the LMP1s, so that's quite a scalp.
So let's see, is this what happened here? Oh, small contact with the GTE and it's off to the wall, and that is not drivable. Also, thank you for the subscribing to our channel, Michael Marchi. Much appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to those 11 people who've liked this video as well, and the 27 of you who are currently watching.
Oh, and look at this, we got a battle in the LMP1s. For the last 15 minutes we got Verne and Danhausen at it again. This is for 6th place in the class and overall.
Yeah, these guys were fighting quite hard earlier on. It was back then it was Dan Hoosen defending from Verne, but this time the other way round. They're going to be close to a lap down by the end of this race. I wonder if they're just taking that in consideration with their fuel, although it doesn't make too much of a difference. To be fair, in this LMP1, I think with the amount of fuel you have. But Dan Hoosen now supplying a little bit of energy, closing that gap coming out of Pouon. But yes, staying behind. Certainly, of course, it's kind of difficult with the LMP1 because it's quite easy to go for the move because all you do is press a button and you get a bit extra power and you pull ahead. You have terrific acceleration when you do deploy that front wheel energy. But of course, you've got to be very generous with it, otherwise you'll get overtaken straight back. As also Hugo Cox here now closing in on these guys. He was about a second faster than these guys in the last lap. So. Nice three-way battle between these two.
Yeah, good battle going on. Just also looking at Verne here. Maybe slightly struggling with the connection. It seems like Danhausen is not quite sure on what to do there because Verne's car seems to be a little bit bouncing across the track, but let's hope it stays up for the last 30 minutes.
Do we have Michael Markey in this race? Because I can't see his name. The YouTube chat is demanding that we see him. But,
no, I don't believe. I think he is watching the broadcast rather than racing. At least that's my understanding.
Ah, right. He is certainly watching. Okay, apologies for that. I mean, we can't show someone who's watching the broadcast. I mean, that technology would be rather intrusive, it's safe to say. Someone who we were demanding was on the broadcast earlier on was Vendel Para. And he is now ahead of Victor De La Fuente. So before he was behind De La Fuente, and now his race kind of ignited a bit because it was getting dull. And also he's ahead of Casper Henningsen. So Vendel Para, casually, I was mocking him earlier on, I think, for pitting No, sorry, he didn't pit early. That was someone else. But it didn't look like he was going to have an exciting race. But now he's ahead of De La Fuente and Henningsen, and he's going to have a fun time to keep these guys behind. I wonder what happened to Henningsen during the pit stop, Sam, because he was really charging along. He was running up in 4th place earlier on.
Yep, I don't
maybe,
see
not
any
sure.
major issues. Well, the only concern is I think, yeah, Wendell had the fastest pit stop out of these 3, and he did pit earliest as well, so is he going to be cutting it close with the fuel? We'll see. But maybe that definitely helped with the race position, having the sort of pit stop. For example, Henningen was almost a second slower on the pits.
De La Fuente seemingly the faster driver out of these 2, and he is catching back up to the driver who he was previously ahead of earlier on in this race. The getting a bit darker, I think. I have everything on low graphics, it must be said, so I tend to notice everything quite significantly later than most people. But is it getting darker, Sam? I trust your eyesight.
Yeah, it is slightly. It's normal evening, so the sun is getting down, the track is cooling down, and let's just quickly see is the track temperature. Well, it is 19 degrees, so it is definitely cooling down, and I think we will see some fast laps. And we are actually seeing some fast laps here. 2-minute 12s for the GTEs, and 2-minute 11s for the leading GTEs, so that is definitely a quick pace.
Herman versus Neidhart still. Would these... Neidhart certainly was in a battle over. I'm not sure if it was with Herman. Either way, that's battle currently between these 2. And Neidhart seemingly the slightly faster out of these 2 at the moment. Dan Delort, who had the crash earlier on, is dropping down a bit further now.
I think
and
he might have just called it a night here. He has retired from the race. I'm not seeing any incident on him on the event list, so I think he just... it was maybe too much damage to really continue.
Disappointing, that one, because he was showing quite a lot of entertainment earlier on. But hopefully we'll see him back in future weeks for this split. It's still these 3 going at it. So Dan Houston got up past Verne then. I don't think we saw that. Got T, and that is with the race leader in the GTEs, Mitchell de Jong. Don't want to tag him off. And, well, Mitchell's not best pleased. And I must say, I remember the time when I was flashed by Nicky Team. And I wasn't really impressed. I was kind of like, wow, Nicky Team just got angry at me. And it kind of made me quite happy, to be honest. You know, I don't know if I'm the only person who has that reaction, but have you ever angered a real-life driver, Sam?
I cannot actually remember right now, so maybe I'm just not paying attention at all. So,
of course, if anyone's doing the 24 hours of Spa, you'll have to be in the top split. But Lando Norris will be racing for Team Redline, and he'll be streaming the whole thing. So if you want to become an internet sensation, you know, he hits off Lando, and he'll probably like make a meme out of you. He is that type of guy, and so you know, that's a one-way route to internet fame, no doubt. So of course you've got to be pretty good, because there's probably going to be 20 odd splits for that, and you're going to be in got to get into top split to race him.
yeah, it just I think Lando just needs to change his name for that, because his teammates are Max, Max, and Max. So unfortunately, Lando is kind of breaking the consistency there. Also, thanks for the follow, Jones Brent. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll join us over the weekend for other races that we have coming up.
Yes, we'll have
As Henningsen is making a move here.
Yes, pass. Sorry, I didn't pick up on that, but you're absolutely right. Henningsen, past De La Fuente. De La Fuente seemingly giving that one up quite easily. He just kind of parked his car on the inside and waved on by his rival. Maybe struggling with a bit of fuel or something, not quite sure. But well, now it's Power, maybe under even more pressure. That he's got Henningsen behind. They're only 3.5 seconds behind Creepsy. Which kind of shows the pace of these guys. Power, if he had a slightly better qualifying and a slightly better start, Power, he could have well been fighting for maybe a top 5 in this race. But I'm sure a 6th place he would be very grateful for.
So let's see, where else do we have the battles going on? Jeremy Moore, this is Griven and Trainer again at it. So maybe at some point we kind of lost hope with Trainer, but he is still definitely fighting. As they're dealing with some LMP1 traffic, so Trainer's still going at it, and maybe I was wrong about the damage because it seems like he is definitely going for it and not missing any pace as far as I can tell.
Trainer was harassing Griven earlier on. Griven had a terrific amount of pace in the middle part of the race and managed to pull away and catch and pass Jeremiah Morton through the pit stops. Then made a mistake though, and since then he's really struggled for pace. He's now 6.5 seconds behind Morton, and maybe just picking up a little bit of curb damage perhaps from that instance, or maybe somewhere else. And yeah, under pressure big time from Alex Trainer now. Trainer, is he going to get tapped round?
Oh,
yes,
he is.
And, well, he was... Well, I think that's the same place where Mika Hakkinen went off all those years ago. And that race turned out okay for him. But I don't think it's going to turn out well for Alex Trainer. This is how it happened. Trainer... I don't know about you there, Sam, but I kind of feel as though that's where you're a bit stubborn. Where you kind of think, no, I don't want you to get past. Instead of thinking kind of the rational thing of, I just want to preserve my car. I don't know, but of course you're a GTE driver and have that experience commonly in this race. Would you say Trainer was partially at fault there, or was it the LMP1's fault?
I think that's just on. I have to put that down to the LMP1 because that is really not a corner where it's easy to make a pass, because if you go side by side there, it's just really tight. You're just going to lose the speed all the way to the following straight. So in that place I think you need a little bit more patience, and also I think we may need to stop complimenting drivers, because again as soon as we were talking about the Trainer having a great pace, he ends up having an incident through no fault of his own.
The drivers behind Trainer, by the way, aren't for position. Hodgenberg is the next driver behind, but he's 11 seconds behind. And so he doesn't have to worry too much about that. I was going to say before that crash, you know, they got 11 seconds, they can have a bit of contacts, and it's not the end of the world. Well, that my point's just been proven before I even made it. There. What's going on further back? Power still under pressure from Henningsen then. Safe to say that Grieve Trainer battle is over and done with now. Also, Neidhart got past Herman. I think that was a change. But yeah, Power. In fact, now Henningsen gets held up. So Henningsen also just gets a little bit shoved out by the prototype. So Power is hanging on to this one. I've already said how he looks as though he's slower than Henningsen. It looks as though he's slower than De La Fuente, but he's managed to keep the pair of them behind. As we've now got 1 minute and 40 to go. And so we've got this lap and another one for these drivers. Marcus Hamilton.
We also had one change here. Coty was able to make a pass on Verne. So just within the last few minutes, up to 7th position in the class.
1.4 seconds down to catch Marius Dan Hoosen. Dan Hoosen has got 3 fuel issues there. I don't think that one's going to happen. And considering that Dan Houston had a longer pit stop, I think he should be okay. Marius, been a nice battle though for Marius and also Ben. They're putting on quite a show for us. And Kotze now, just so I speak, got the gap down to 1 second. So worth keeping an eye out on that one as they move on to their penultimate lap. They've still got a long way to go. These guys are going to be some of the last drivers to cross the line because they're nearly an entire lap behind Marcus Hamilton, who has got 40 seconds to cross the line.
So we are getting one more.
He could just stop right now and just pick up the checkered flag, but he's going to force one extra lap. Lap 32 he will start, and I wonder if that would just play havoc with a few drivers' fuel amounts. Maybe didn't expect that extra lap. We have seen chaos on Apex Racing TV before when situations like this have occurred.
Yeah, I think we have seen that a few times, and this might be the prime opportunity for that to happen again. Especially on a grid this large. I think we will see a few guys coming in for the last minute pit stop. The pace was really fast, so they might have not been expecting this.
Down to 19 degrees now, the track temperature, so absolutely, yeah, a lot of grip. Really, the cooler it gets, the more fuel you use because you're on the power for more amounts of time. I have to brake a bit less, you can get on the power a bit earlier. iRacing doesn't really take into effect the density of the fuel. So yeah, cooler, the more fuel that you are using. Neathart looks like he's going to hold on against Herman, 6/10 of a second there. Para, Henningsen and De La Fuente are closing in once again, 1.5 seconds between those three drivers. And at the moment, no one coming into the pits. Last lap for these guys then, and Henningsen under pressure now from De La Fuente, so just losing a bit of touch with the driver ahead. But I think we're going to have to cut to the race leader, the LMP1 race leader, the overall race leader. I think he's about to become the race winner as well. Car number 4, Marcus Hamilton. Well, he's quite often second best to his teammate Matt Farray, but today it is him on the top step of the podium. Marcus Hamilton wins at Spa. Week 6 of the season goes his way. We've got side by side at the moment between Kotze and Dan Houston, and Bernd Kotze has got the move done. But is there going to be contact between the two of them? No, that was fantastic driving from the pair. And now almost off the circuit goes Dan Houston. I thought he was going to be safe in these closing stages, but it's not turned out that way. We're going to have to cut now to the GTE race leader. GT and LMP1 race leaders are very close to one another. But it's Mitchell de Jong. He's just got a couple more corners to go. The final chicane to execute, and well, I think you could have put a safe bet on him winning this one today. Mitchell de Jong approaches the line and he wins at Spa, and in dominating fashion, 10 seconds ahead of his teammate in the end. Hart wins in the HPDs just behind, and that was a very good performance from Johan Hart, his first win in one of these races for a while, I believe. So that's all the race winners across the line. Is there any other battles? What's happening with Kotze versus Dan Houston? And Dan Houston, who looked to be taking a safe 6th place, I don't think it's going to happen for him now. And now is he going to get held up behind the HB? Got to go for it. Nearly contacts. And now Dan Houston, is he going to be under pressure going into the final chicane? Round the outside goes Byrne, but he can't get it stopped. Both front wheel 100% locked. And Byrne, well, he had to give it a go, but he ends up in 8th place. And what a result there for Hugo Kotze. A distant 8th for much of the race, gains 2 places in the final 10 minutes, and claims a very nice 6th place for the lowest I-rated LMP1 driver. So congratulations to him. Just waiting for a couple more of the drivers to cross the line, and then we'll be able to go through our race results.
Yeah,
but Sam, that was yeah.
Yeah, looks like everyone. Peter Berger is the only one that has not crossed the finish line yet. But yeah, great final lap. Just battles going on all the way, and I mean, Vern, of course he had to try it because that was his last chance to make the position, but just wasn't able to get the car stopped in the finals again. I think we did see multiple drivers on issues there, especially the LMP2s with the locking their rear brakes. As I think everyone has made it to the finish.
Yes. So we can go through the final results. It's Marcus Hamilton winning out in the overall and the LMP1 fields. Riccardo Schiavone, we didn't really watch this. But Schiavone in the end managed to hold off Matt Farah by 1 second in the end, because Matt Farah was really closing in on in the closing stage. Then he feels like if he had one more lap, would have probably got it done. Dylan Mann finished in 4th place with Molnar Peter in 5th. And there's Hugo Cotti finishing in 6th place. Nice result for him, with Marius Den Hoosen and Pierre Byrne rounding out the finishers in that class. The non-finishers were Richard Arnoux, who was running 4th place in the early stages, Povilas Machunas, Luke Bannister, who was running 5th, I believe, and Gontarenko Bogdan as well. In the LMP2s, Johan Harp won out, and in convincing fashion as well, ahead of Jeremiah Morton. Tim Grieven perhaps had a good chance at 2nd place before he spun, but did well to hold off Alex Trainer in the end. Richard Hodgenberg finished in 5th, with Friedrich Natchen in 6th, and then it was Jonathan Dance in 6th place. The retirees were Patrick Meyer, who was running in 4th place, David Dendelot, who was running in 5th place, and Mike Owen as well, who was running in 4th place. So crazy few minutes where all those 3 drivers crashed out. In the GTEs, Mitchell de Jong won by 10 seconds over Pash Gergis. Florian Dienard finished in 3rd place, with Yannick Lapchin in 4th. There's Hugo Prieto running out the top 5. Vendel Parra, nice pit stop from him to jump both Casper Henningsen and Victor De La Fuente in the end. Dennis Neidhart had a nice battle against Stefan Herman. And then there's Barry Morrison, Jacques Boucher, Daniel Kraft, Casper De Court, Loy Guiardo, Peter Berger, Cal Schwarleiner, Christophe Bouquet, and then the retirees were Johnny Edgar and Chris Lullum. Sometimes we have interviews with drivers. We haven't got any guaranteed interviews because unfortunately Fraser Williamson and Josh Thompson aren't with us. They always give an interview, but we're very pleased to say that Jeremiah Morton, who we had a chat with last week as well, has come to join us. And Jeremiah, in the end, not the race win that you were aiming for, but it still looked like a fun race. You had a nice battle with Johan earlier on, and then you had a nice battle with Tim Grieven as well.
Yeah, well, firstly, I just want to congratulate Johan. That was a stellar performance by him. I didn't fault his driving. He just pulled away nice and easy. Just chipped away at it, 10th or 2 every lap, and pulled a good gap. So well done to Johan. He should be proud of that performance. But yeah, I enjoyed the battle with Tim. I think he ended up losing it or something in front of me, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But yeah, I really enjoyed tonight's race. It's probably one of the most enjoyable Spa races I've had in the LMP2.
Absolutely. How was the day-night transition out there? We saw that the race started in kind of the evening. Did you notice any kind of track temperature change, any grip change, or and did you notice the sun setting as well, or were you 100% focused on the racing?
No, I definitely noticed the weather, the sun going down. I think about 15 to 12 minutes before the race end, you do notice the glare on the dash, especially as you go down to Radeon, and so yeah, you have to sort of watch out for that. Make sure you don't get too blinded by the sun, but not too bad. If it was actually sort of a longer race, you'd be able to get into the nighttime sort of hours, and you'd be able to have a real change of sun, but it's not really that much of a difference.
And for the championship, Johan has recently been doing quite a few of these races. I wonder if he'll push you for that championship, but 2nd place today, that's some really solid points, and it will probably increase your already healthy advantage in the for the title.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure Johan hasn't done that many weeks, so he's down on the standings. But I think he's one of those dark horses I got to watch out for as we get to the drop weeks. Because yeah, if he keeps swinging like this, he'll go far.
Absolutely, already won this championship, I believe, twice in the past. Next up, we head to Road America, which is kind of similar to this. You know, long straights, a few fast corners. Do you like that circuit?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's probably not one of my strongest tracks, which is probably what the competitors want to hear. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
Yeah, certainly wish you the best of luck for that one. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Yes, as always, thanks to the Rev It Up Racing esports team and Rev It Up Racing as a sponsor, Pagnian Imports and Lenovo. Thanks for their support. I did have a question, Kumo. How do you say your first name?
My first name, Samuli.
Samuli. All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeremiah, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Catch up.
So I think that pretty much rounds off our interviews for today. Of course, on Apex Racing TV coming up tomorrow, we've got the Sim Racers Asia. So that's like F3 cars. That'll be about 12 GMT midday for us Europeans, I believe. And unfortunately, we won't have the UV8s. On Sunday, though, we will have the Aussie Mixed and Fixed. That'll be at 11 GMT, I believe, or around then. Again, apologies for not the precise times, but you know, just keep an eye on it. Turn on notifications, and then it will pop up on your notification screen. So it'll be no problem. And then on Monday we'll have the World GT, which it was fantastic fun. 60 odd cars in that series, and certainly recommend checking that one out. Also, we'll have the BSR MX5 Amateur Cup. We'll also have the Aussie IMSA splits and lots of others. The BSR Master Pro Series as well. The Blancpain GT series as well on Tuesday evenings, and plenty of other series as well coming up in the next week or so. And of course, next week we will be back for this same split for the iRacing Le Mans series round Road America. So I do thank you all for tuning in for this Apex Racing TV broadcast. But for now, from me and also from Sam, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you next time.